And welcome to the Football 360 show. Back at it, JP Rock here with Matt Bierman. Matt, how you doing? We're on location, both of us today.
Yeah, love it. Yeah, doing great, JP. Great to see you.
Should be interesting show. There's our social media. If you're watching on the screen, if not, it's JP Rock MO on X. JP Rock's got you on Instagram. And Matt, where can people find you?
Easiest way is Elite Football Academy on Instagram and Elite Football on X.
All right. And then elitefootball.net
Yes,
on the web.
EliteFootball.net on the web.
Right. And you can catch the show in audio form only on Apple, on Spotify, as well as everything Football 360 Show at football360show.com. So on location down in beautiful Gulf Shores, Alabama.
Yeah. Gulf Shores, and it's nice to get to the beach every once in a while, right? It's
It
been a
is.
long year, and the fall is going to get a little bit busier, I think. So,
Right. And we got the dead period happening right now. So, now's the time to do it. I know last year I tried to do it from the actual beach itself and my phone burned up. So, so,
yeah, I'm
so now,
indoors. I did not make that mistake because I think
right. You're a
yeah, you
little
get out
smarter
there,
on
your
it.
phone's hot, and it's although it's not that hot down here today. Last summer was really bad.
Ooh, last summer was brutal, and everybody likes to go out in the heat of the day, and
100%.
so was out there in the heat of the day. We should have probably just pushed the show back to sunset because that's the best time actually to be down there in the Gulf
Yes,
at the beach
yes.
is sunset because it's just beautiful. So yeah, we're in the dead week. Everybody's camped up. I mean, we talked about it last week. It's the busiest summer that I can remember just as far as
Yes,
guys doing joint practices, team camps, you name it. Everybody's just been on a roll.
right up to the last minute too. I
Hmm. Oh
mean,
yeah,
people were going on Thursday and Friday, and it's uh, it's crazy. I mean, it's one of those things that I think the deeper we've getting into into it, like everybody has gotten more in tune with talking to other programs. I
yeah,
think people are pretty strategic about who they play and when they play and all that fun stuff.
right.
But yeah, it's a good setup. I mean, that's a lot of good football for you. You probably love it because it's another
Oh
way to get
man,
guys, getting in action.
getting eyes on guys, getting to talk to guys. It is really cool. I mean, almost to the point. It's like, okay, well, now who do I see now that the season's coming
Right.
up? But that's a totally different thing. Live game action as opposed to these joint practices and everything. But
But
I'm
you
telling
miss people too.
you do miss people because people are on vacation like you, and
Yes.
and doing various things. What's interesting to me though the most is that you had some like real serious competitions pop up, like Lee Summit North, practicing against Cardinal Ritter. I mean, two of the top programs in the state on either side of, in Kansas City last week, you had Ray Pack and Liberty North and St. Pius X and you know, I mean, those are all teams that, and some of these teams are going to compete against each other in the season, and they're,
Right.
they're practicing anyway.
Yeah, I think the coaches that know the other teams are give them good work are willing to make that sacrifice
Yeah,
and play against each other. And I think everybody's got different formats with how they do it too. I think as you talk to different people and you ask them, and different people are doing, full on scrimmages. Some guys are just doing joint practice where they're doing individual together. They're
hmm,
doing one on ones, stuff like that. That getting
yeah,
to see other people, which is I
right.
think pretty cool.
Yeah, it does, and I think it makes you better. But I hats off to the guys who have enough confidence in their program that they go out and will face competition in the summer like this.
Oh yeah,
I mean, there are guys out there who are ducking and dodging and trying to hide stuff and just trying to not show any. But my feeling is if you go out there and you feel as though you get beat up a little bit by another team in a practice, do some more. Your team needs that work.
right. I think uh, a lot of kids too in our area have not done a lot of football wise. So like getting into the summer and actually getting all those practices in
Hmm.
makes a big difference for a lot of the kids, especially if they can make all the practices, right? I
Yeah.
think the biggest challenge is, with some programs, it's more voluntary because it's a camp versus doing actual what we would consider like practices.
Right.
And so I think there's some arbitrary, belief in like, well, it's just summer camp. It's like, yeah, but we're playing other teams and we're going against other groups. And I think that's a big deal, right? I think that's a really big deal.
It is. And then you got the kids who are playing baseball and, doing things like that. And that's got to drive a coach a little crazy.
That can change your entire summer, right? I mean,
right.
like literally, if you're wanting to play baseball, it's really hard to do both at a high level.
Right.
Because, in the baseball realm too, they have all their camps and recruiting and all that stuff is going on as well, right? I mean, that's all going on.
Oh, yeah.
So, they have those showcases where they go down to Atlanta and there's PBR and those guys have like these, large all-star games and like the who's who of college coaches are there, right? And so,
without question,
yeah, it's kind of an interesting situation.
And then you have some high-level guys like Corday Gage, right?
Yeah.
Who is one of those? I mean, he's probably could play either one in college. He's that good. He could probably get drafted. He's that good. And he's also probably going to be like one of the top receivers for CBC this year.
Yeah. Isn't that funny when you say his name?
Yeah.
Like, he is a guy that at any school would be your number one. And now you're like, he's going to be one of their top guys. It's, I think it's crazy.
Right. It is crazy.
So much talent, right?
And he's a guy who can juggle those two things. Now, did you see him? Because you know him very well. He's played with Boom, trained at Elite.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see him as a guy who could play both sports?
I do.
All the way up through high school, and
I think he could. I mean, those guys are very rare. And you know what? I think the challenge would be is finding the right school where you can do that and get the right mix. Because it makes it hard, obviously. But his dad did it. His dad did it in college and ended up not hampering him to play in the NFL. But he's one of those rare guys. But to your point, like by all accounts in baseball, he's equally as good in baseball as he is in football. So, and the tough thing is I would love to know, like, if he poured in 100% on both of them, or like one of the other, like how high his ceiling is. And I think, that's probably what the college coaches' hopes are, is like they get him there, and then eventually he falls in love with one or the other, and then he does that. But he is some of the highlights I've seen of him this summer playing baseball, and then obviously the highlights of him playing football. Right. It's, but it puts a kid like him in a really tough spot. Like, what do you do, right? I mean, you're getting courted and by both levels of the game, by coaches, and I think I would assume he's going to start because I think their recruiting period just opened for baseball, so he'll probably start getting some attention, right, and offers and stuff. So
yeah, it's a struggle. And I'm sure the college coaches are probably like, hey, pick. They hope he picks one, hopefully maybe by next year. But I mean, when you like you said, when you have that rare talent, but you're absolutely right. And I mean, he might, CBC's loaded again this year. So
loaded.
And he might, I mean, I think people are kind of underrating CBC. We can talk some high school stuff a little bit later on, but I think they're getting a little underrated. I know that everybody who has social media seems to be putting out like top 25s of high school football already.
Oh yeah, I think that tactic is pretty good because then people talk about it and
what it is.
To be honest with you, I don't even look at that stuff preseason until
clicks and likes. I don't look at it either.
Like, what are you gonna get garner from it other than it's just strictly conjecture and opinion at that point? Whereas
it is,
you go into rankings of kids, there's a body of work that you put in and you analyze. That's a little different than a team because, quite honestly, to know exactly what every team has coming back and to know how that's going to gel and all that, that's a lot to be deciphered. Yeah. Right.
See, I have that information and I have it statewide, which I always find it interesting to look at those things. Like I said, because you see it popping up all the time, just like you see trainers popping up all the time. You see people who want to get involved in, whether it's media or whether it's scout, whatever it is, scouting. People are wanting to do it because it's
Oh,
fun
yeah.
and it's exciting to do. But I think it's kind of interesting to see, and people who are putting that kind of stuff out, really don't seem to have a lot of respect for CBC for whatever reason. I mean, you have Nick McClellan coming back, right, as your quarterback. You got good line play. You got speed for days.
Mhm.
Courtney Rivers, one of the top running backs, along with Jaden McCaster, who, and I'm sure you've heard Jaden McCaster's transferred to
Yeah.
Nixa.
Well, that's an interesting development.
That's huge. I mean, but between what they have coming back, between Adam McKnight, and Jaden McCaster, flipping sides, right, and playing for the team.
That is wild.
That I mean, I don't think that's ever happened before. But that's pretty wild. But I mean, we talked about it last year. Nix's offensive line, who they pretty much have everybody back. You got Cantwell at 6'8", 300. Then you got Mays at 6'5", 300. I mean, they're just huge. They're a college size offensive line.
What do you see? That I mean, are they just going to be real run heavy with him? What did they? Who did they
Yeah.
have at running back?
Well, they had a couple of guys. There were guys who were coming up through the program that were going to be at running back. Their top running back left, so boom, you just slide McCaster in there, and he's the guy, in my opinion. As long as he, and I'm sure he will pick everything up pretty good, pretty easy.
I would think he'd be the guy, right? I mean,
he would be the guy. He would be the guy. Yeah, you get because Jaden's committed to. Is it Southern Illinois that Jaden's committed to?
Yes.
Yeah.
And like then it's like that calls that into question. Probably like, hey, is he going to be still wanting to go there? Is he wanting to go somewhere different? I'll be curious to see how that ends up with him. But that is I don't know the full story, but it's interesting because Coach Merritt. I remember Jaden McCaster came onto my radar when Jaden was in maybe sixth grade, seventh grade. He was a student at John Burroughs when middle school.
Right.
When Coach Merritt was coaching over there, and he had called and said, "Hey, we got this younger guy. He's he's a smaller kid, but he's really good at really explosive. Would you consider him for one of your older teams? For like not older, but like middle school teams, because he was like on the younger end of the age spectrum." And I said, "Yeah, sure, we'll do it." Right. And he played with us for a couple of years, and explosive athlete. But it's interesting, like not to see those two finish it out. They've been together since middle school, but I don't know what the situation is. The family move or
I would imagine
clearly you're not commuting to Nixa from St. Louis.
No, Misha shouldn't have a problem with that because it's clearly got to be a family move, and there are jobs that are coming to play. I mean, Chance McPike, the top player in the 2027 class. Parents got a job transfer to Paducah, Kentucky, of all places.
Right.
And so now he's down there doing his thing down there. But it's going to be very interesting. I haven't talked to Coach Merritt, but I'm sure that he was just kind of like, a little bit of a gut punch to have your returning leading rusher
100%
go like that.
And that's
it opens it up for some younger guys, Cam Sharp,
which I've heard great things about.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, he's just part of the whole Sharp family. So Cam's gonna do it. Cameron Garrett has been moved to the slot, but I know he's gonna run the ball some for them. So it's just gonna be they just reload. They're just gonna reload like that. They've got their big line back, and they're gonna be good. A lot of people are just people see that Dylan Duff graduated, and so they think Gabe Rodriguez is a talented young man, and people are going to find that out.
Yeah, senior. I mean, he's been waiting his turn, and I think he's ready to go. And then he's got a understudy and Chase Cooper underneath him. I think they're going to have a really solid year, right? And I think Gabe is one of those guys that, again, like you said, I think he's going to shock some people. He's been working his butt off. He's gotten big. He's a good kid, very smart, knows their system. I mean, so like kind of like that's when you have a program too, when you got guys that are waiting and you can reload and you're ready to go.
Oh yeah, and then you go deeper than that. They've got another guy, Chase Cooper. He's waiting his time. He's one of the top quarterbacks in the state in his class. Just kind of overall. another guy that you're familiar with. You've trained.
Oh yeah, we have trained him for a long time. Big kid, got good arm. He can, he's got a good bloodline. His dad played in the major leagues.
Yeah.
He's got a brother who plays at Liberty who is a stud.
6'5", yeah.
I think he'll get to college and absolutely blossom, and then be someone who really takes advantage of the transfer portal.
I think he's gonna be the new norm. Cam's gonna be the new norm, where you see these guys who don't get heavily recruited or get recruited by the P4 schools, go to other schools and then just climb that ladder, and do that. And a school that I think is a real sleeper in Class 6, since we're talking about Class 6 schools, is Blue Springs South. They have that Aiden Wilhelm quarterback.
Yes.
Coming back, who you got the chance to see 7-on-7 this year.
Yep.
They've got their offensive. They might have one of the bigger lines next to Nixa, although the Smets got some good size on their line. But they've got talent, they've got size, they've got several transfers. They picked up a couple kids from Park Hill South, offensive lineman who's committed to Central Arkansas, I think maybe, who was at the KC Varsity in St. Louis last year, Lundberg. And then they got a really good wide receiver named Chance Taylor, who I know because he came all the way over to the Elite Combine last year.
They're going to be stacked, but it sounds like Kansas City, they've got the same scenario going with like different kids moving from one school to the other. It is wild.
They do. There's this. It's the transfer portal, right?
Yeah, it is. It is wild, and I'm curious to see, as you know, like that Misha process, what they do. And it's kind of unique how they do it, right? Like, and I don't know that if it's a deterrent or truly it's just because the timing of the year.
Mm-hmm.
They take a break over the summer, but they do not start hearing those appeal cases till, practice, the first week of like practice or thereafter, and right after that. So like, you legitimately have kids and coaches who don't know if a kid is eligible, right? Because like there's that like first time you move in.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden you're there, and then they put the paperwork through, and it comes through and says denied. That you can appeal it because they want to get more information. Well, that sometimes does not take place until like right before the season starts, the week of the first game.
Right.
So, like from a coach's perspective, how much time can you put into a guy if you don't know if they're going to be eligible or not? And I think it's going to be an interesting year because there's a lot of, and again, I could be wrong. But it just appears like there's more kids, at least in St. Louis, that have transferred. Does that sound?
No, fair? You're not wrong. You're 100% right. And what's crazy is I'm hearing about kids who have not even been admitted to schools that they've transferred to yet. So you've got to figure out. I don't know how that works, but yet schools are kind of counting on them. And
the coaches are. Yeah, the coaches are counting on them, right? Yeah. Right.
They don't care. I don't care if this kid comes or not. But you were 100% right, especially in St. Louis, Kansas City too. Lee Summit North their new starting quarterback played at North Kansas City last year.
Mm-hmm.
They picked up one 2028 defensive lineman from Lee Summit West, who's now at Lee Summit North. I mean, it's happening. Liberty North picked up some high level transfer players.
What was the school in Kansas City that had? It was one of the Norths that had. Their principal put out a statement earlier last week about suspending a couple coaches due to a dead week violation. Is that
that's Lee Summit North coach Jason Rogers? Yeah.
So
I think he's going to miss the first. I think he's going to miss the first game.
Yeah, that's what it said. So they had a dead week violation, which the dead week stuff always is interesting to me because like obviously this week that we're on right now, everybody that's the dead week, right?
Yep.
I will tell you 4 years, and not just I have no knowledge of anything going on in Kansas City, but I could tell you for a fact, like because I'm training a bunch of kids from all over the area, and I'm not talking about Illinois kids, I'm talking about Missouri kids. When there's like that defined dead weeks, usually right there by the 4th of July, it's hodgepodge with what everybody's doing. To be truthful, from like what you hear, and so like again, I don't know. If they did too many practices, they didn't do it, whatever it was, or the week that they were supposed to be off. But it's almost like the way it has been interpreted, I hear people talk about it, it's like, oh no, that first dead week is kind of arbitrary. You do it whenever you want. And it's like, I don't know. I don't know how that rule is exactly written, but it doesn't
Yeah.
sound. But yeah, it sounds like someone, talked about it to the principal, and they made the decision to suspend for a game or two, and then self-report and move on.
So that brings up an interesting point. How I mean, it's kind of prevalent, and you hate to see it. You and I we don't even really get involved in that. What you're talking about, the Misha dead rule stuff. But man, there's people who are trying to get other people in trouble all the time, and if fans don't know that, but people are always looking to get tell on this guy or tell on that program or this pro. That always just kind of fascinates me that everybody doesn't just stay in their own lane and worry about their own deal.
Well, JP, like one of the things I had a guy ask me the other day about he's a freshman parent, and he was talking about quarters. Like you get 6 quarters in a week to play, and obviously it's for player safety. But as you know, and I know, the haphazardness of freshmen and JV teams that are offered around the area, because like a lot of teams don't have freshman teams, so then they choose to have this quasi JV team full of freshmen and sophomores and some juniors. And but say you're in a program where you need to be the backup for the varsity guy, right? You're not going to go in, most likely, but if you do, then you could run risk of say someone goes down first quarter, you go and play 3 quarters and you'd already played earlier in the week. That's a violation,
right?
And it's the thing that I've seen a bunch of times, which is always shocking to me, talking about staying in your own lane. I have heard of numerous times. You know who usually turns people in on the quarter violations?
Who's that?
Kids on the team, parents of kids on the team.
Yeah.
That's what I've seen and heard, because unfortunately, who else is going to know who's playing what quarters, right?
Right. Yep.
But somebody that's sitting there watching every down, right? And I don't know that it's even malicious on the coach's part half the time. It's just a logistics or But I know of a kid 2 years ago. The young man's not even playing football anymore, but he was a sophomore playing some JV and varsity.
Yeah.
And he, I guess, beat someone else's kid out, right? And he played an extra quarter, a play, a 2 in 1 quarter. Somebody turned them into the principal in the school, who then turned them into Misha.
Yeah. I mean, that was going to be my next question. Is this parents upset over playing time?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that stuff happens.
Yeah,
but I mean, it's gonna go full bore. It's this summer's really kind of cruised by. Maybe it's because we have been so busy with all the just football action going on, all the camps and practices. Seems like just the other day we were talking about how we were getting ready for Lindenwood camp.
Oh my God,
coming up, and so now here we are. Just not even a full week out from the first practice, and just talking to coaches and stuff, and everybody's excited, and we're going to talk more about that. And then we got some Mizzou stuff going on, Mizzou practices going on, college football practices happening, and a lot of interesting stuff going on. You still have Lindenwood practicing, you have all the schools, and we're going to try to cover some more of the college stuff, or the local college stuff, as the show goes on. Football 360 show going. We're coming up on 2 years here, so
that's hard to believe. Almost 100 episodes. I mean, it's wild.
It really is.
Well,
so no. You know what I'm doing. So like we were talking about football, high school football is. I mean, it's going to go fast once they start on Monday. And they start practicing that, then comes like the inter squad scrimmage, then comes the jamborees, and boom, then you're on.
Right.
But since you've been doing this all summer long, you're ready. And I know that you're, intimately familiar with Parkway West.
Yeah. I'm just helping my son's team. I'm technically, I guess, a volunteer coach, which hey, I was
big bucks.
The last 4 years, I've volunteered to help run the stuff with the junior program and all that. And to be honest with you, I didn't have any intention of coaching in high school.
Mhm.
just because of my schedule and timing and all that. I just don't have a ton of time, so I can make what I can make, and from a schedule logistics purpose. But anything I can do to help out. But I really, um, you know, think it's a great position to be in. Anytime you can help at the high school level, it's
Yeah.
the purest level of the game. I mean, that
Without
and
a
middle
doubt.
school football to me are just awesome, and they're so much fun and be able to help out. So, and I think a lot of the staffs around town, they struggle to find guys that one, have the time, two, are willing to really kind of be a part of the program and buy in and be a part of it. And then also guys that have a higher level working knowledge of the game, which I don't know, like it's hard to find that combination, I think. And I think coaches and staffs do the best they can, but I get calls constantly about trying to find coaches because they know we have a stable of guys coaching. And we have guys that are kind of in that mix of they do coach, but a lot of them do not, because their coaching that they do and their fix and what they love to do about football is do the private training and skill
Right.
development side of things. So it is definitely a different environment coaching in high school versus doing skill development. I mean, you don't get the time.
Right. And I was going to say, has that kind of opened your eyes a little bit more this year?
Yeah, you know what? It is funny you say it, because even I tell people, like, look, so I own a training business, right? That's all I do all day long. And so even when I was coaching our middle school team, like the amount of time that we would allocate for skill development that is minimal, because you only have so much time to execute what you need to execute, and then you yield to being able to line up properly and run plays in a game, because you have a game coming up in a couple weeks and you don't want to look like an idiot. And your team is really good at running routes and catching balls, but they have no idea where they're lining up and how to synchronize or what to do in certain scenarios. So I think that therein lies the issue, right? And I think there's a balance, and it's a fight between. And if I had $1 for every time that someone said, "Hey, you don't need to go train with those guys. We do all this stuff at practice." No, that's a gross misunderstanding of what we're doing and why we do it. And so they go hand in hand. Like, they're together. They're not one versus the other. Like, I mean, my gosh, our goal is to build better football players to go back to their teams and play and be the best players they can be, not be, liabilities. We want them to be, we want them to be something that can help them.
Right. And how many times have you seen somebody show up, right, who's already playing varsity football, show up to elite for training, and they're like, "I've never done this before. I've never learned this."
JP, it happens all the time. And it's like one of these things where it's like, well, yeah, we didn't work on that. I've never worked on that. That's foreign to me. Like, and then, some kids, it kind of like really scares them because, or takes them aback, because they're thinking, oh my gosh, I mean, I know what I'm doing. And then suddenly they're caught in a scenario where they don't know what they're doing. And, something that's interesting and this kind of like leads into that. I had a guy, and he'll remain nameless, but one of our kids, he's a Division I player. He was in, all these guys were home for the last couple of weeks. And he was talking, and he was running routes from one of our quarterbacks, and he was talking to something effective about, like, because he's been up and playing, and it's his first year, and he's like, it's really hard. It's really, really hard. And I was like, yeah, of course it's really hard. And he's like, there's days when I feel like I cannot even physically do what they're asking me to do. And it's like I'm in quicksand and my hands don't work and my feet don't work. And I was like, yeah, that's the acclimation period to college. And you will question whether or not you really want to do this, right? Because it is at a different speed. Kids go through that because you're a junior and senior. You're in an area of like comfort, and you feel good, and the coaches around you you're lovey-dovey on you, and they're loving you up, and you're the guy. And then you get there and you realize you're just a number.
Yeah.
You realize it's all about production. Yes. You realize they don't really care unless you can produce for them. And if you're in a scenario where they don't need you to produce yet, you're really not even that valuable until, another spring from now, or 2 springs from now, or a fall, or 2 falls from now. So I think therein lies the issue, is that if you don't have a stable background, and I told the kid, I said, look, everybody's been there. At some point, it will start to speed back up and you're going to feel just fine. And the quarterback was there laughing because he's a year older. He goes, "Oh, I went through the same thing last year." He's like, "I could not even throw the ball." Right. He's like, and so that's what I think is so funny is like, we're in this preseason period for the NFL and college. And like, there's a video of Caleb Williams the other day, like just really having a struggle throwing maybe 5 or 8 yard passes into a net. And they struggle. I mean, really bad. And but what you got to realize is like his legs look shot to me, right? So in context, it probably made sense why he was throwing that poorly. But watching it just on a clip online, you're like, oh my God, that looks horrible, right? But it's the same thing with that rookie or that freshman in college who his brain is trying to absorb so much information at once, and his body is just fatigued, and his mind is, shot because he's missing home and he's sad.
Hey, and that's so much of the battle. The physical stuff will catch up, but the mindset, that's probably the biggest struggle, wouldn't you say? I mean, I've in covering college preseason practices, I've seen kids just and I have seen kids quit. It just gets to them. It gets to be too much, and they're mentally not able to handle it, and so they just they opt out. And I mean, I'm talking quitting football.
Oh yeah. And I think if therein lies where the training and years of training come into play, because like the guys that I've seen be most successful are the ones that they just enjoy the aspect of getting better and training and being coached. And I think guys that do not love that component or have not been built that way really struggle. And then there's nothing really to fall back on. And I will tell you, as God is my witness, every single kid before they leave, the last time I see them or, within the last few times before when I start to realize, hey, they're winding down, they're about ready to go to college, I pull every one of them aside and I say, hey, listen, I'm going to give you some friendly advice here. And I want you to it may not make sense right now. And you're probably going to think, okay, yeah, not me, but it's everybody. I said, I always tell them, and I won't use the exact language that I use, but I said at some point, within the first couple of weeks of being there in the summer, and then again when camp starts, and then it'll happen again in the winter when you start conditioning, you're going to look at yourself in the mirror and say, what in the blank did I get myself into? Like what is this?
Yeah.
Right? Because all your friends are going to be having fun at college. They're exploring, doing new things, doing fun stuff, and you're out there running your butt off, getting screamed at because you can't do it correctly, and you're just physically getting beat up every single day. And then on top of it, your schedule at that period of time is such that they control your day, right? Like your day is done, right? It's bought and paid for by the football program, and so I think therein lies the issue is that so many kids are just not built for that, and everybody's still got to get used to it. But at some point, some kids are better than others. But I do think that first 2 weeks, no matter how tough and hardened you are and how trained up you are, there's not much that can prepare you for it.
And you see that from middle school to high school, because I've already talked to some kids and they're just like, oh, I don't know, man. I'm like, no. What do you mean you don't know if you like, you don't know if you like this or not? You gotta dig down and grit it out, to find out.
Give it a chance.
Gotta give it a chance because, but there are just some people who it's like they want easy, and especially not to crap on any certain generation, but younger people today seem to like easy. They like the easy way, and if things don't come easy, maybe they don't want to do that.
Yeah, maybe there's something else they can go do that's easier, right?
It is right.
And that's where therein lies, the issue is like that, and I see it with like trainers, right? You have guys that'll, they'll pop up and train a kid for a couple sessions over a year, and now that's like, yeah, I did that, and they don't realize all the stuff that was done prior to that, right? And everything has a time and place. But like it's even with like you see that in coaching, it's like, oh yeah, and they have no idea what true development looks like and how long it really takes, right? Getting someone at the end of their college career and trying to polish them is a
Oh, yeah.
totally different coaching experience than taking someone from 8 years old to the NFL, right?
Yeah.
I think and therein lies, the difference between guys that do this as profession versus the people that do it for a hobby, right? And I think the people who do it for a hobby, it's very admirable. It's just like you said earlier, it's cool, it's exciting. But the truth of the matter is, you could talk to them about that. You could do that as a high school coach. You could do it as a scout. You could do it as a trainer. Like, there's professionals, and then there's people that are doing it as a hobby. Now they think they're doing it as a profession, but I would argue like no, you're not. You're doing it usually for your own selfish gain. Which again, it always goes back to motive. What is the motive, right? Is it to train more people and get better and develop them and bring them along? Yeah, right. It is. But the reality of it is you got to do that from a perspective of, what are you an expert in, and stay in that lane and become an expert and teach those people at an expert level,
Right.
so they can garner that information and use it for their own. And I think that's the tough thing, is you see so many people that are they're not experts, that put themselves off as experts, whether that be in the scouting, ranking, coaching, training, right? And the unfortunate truth is, there's people who are naive enough to believe it, and they don't understand it until it's too late.
Well,
right?
right. Well, I was talking to a coach last night, and he was talking about you and I, and about kids coming, to you and me. And he said the difference is that you and I are doing it for the right reasons. That he always knows we're there to help. Right.
Mhm.
We're not doing it for ourselves. We're not doing it to advance ourselves. We already have our reputations and names and stuff. So everything we do really it's just gonna help you. And we were talking
Right.
about the kids who won't take advantage of that, but that this is a guy who played it all right from on every level, right, to the highest level you could,
Yep.
and is coaching, and sees what we do, which I thought was pretty cool.
Which, you know what, the respect of guys that have done it. And I think but it's becomes so obvious when you see these people that are doing it for the wrong reasons. And I always laugh at that. It's like, the old Chris Rock joke where he's like, I take care of my kids. And he's like, yeah, you're supposed to take care of your kids. So if you're coaching or you're scouting and doing what we do, what's your goal? What is your job? Your job is to do it for the kids and do it the right way.
Yeah.
If you have to tell people that's what you're doing, that's a problem. That's a
Correct.
huge problem. Right?
It is. And so it's nice to see it pay off, and it's going to pay off starting next week. We see it paying off in other places. DJ Miller, I saw you make a post. Was he one of those 8-year-olds that you had?
Yeah, he started in middle school. I tell you what, I did not. I need to post some of the stuff of him training at the facility as a youngster, and then even I had some videos of him when he's a junior, senior. Which Mark Lillibridge was really back then. Was working with us, was really pivotal in helping him with Iowa State. And obviously he ended up transferring, but which everything worked out for him. He was with the Chiefs for a little bit, practice squad, and then he bounced around, and then he went up the UFL, which Mark Lillibridge is part of now.
Yeah, and
was playing with Michigan. And he did a really good job there, and then the Detroit Lions picked him up. But some of the clips of him when he was training as a younger guy, pretty awesome. Making huge plays. There's a video clip of him and Dale Chesson going head to head, and he's playing defensive back, and then Dale's they flip flop, and it's pretty remarkable. I mean, but if you could see back then. This is the explosiveness,
without a doubt,
the body control, the ability to grab the ball out of the air, all those things. I mean, he could do it all, and he still can do it all.
He still can do it all. Now, was that him that you posted a picture in the Boom uniform?
Yeah, he played for Boom, and then oh my God, and then he was in the year where we had the COVID stuff going on, and it was him, Cam Epps. Oh my gosh, who else? The defensive backfield were all Division I kids.
Right.
We got to play so few limited games his last year. The junior year before, we had a bunch of those guys, but his senior year, because he was class of 19, like going into that, those guys they just kind of got caught. They got caught in the tail. And Isaac Thompson, the whole crew. But yeah,
Isaac
really
Thompson,
good kids.
Yeah.
But yeah, he and then speaking of another guy, I just saw another boom guy and kid that we started training as a real youngster.
Yeah.
I'll have to read it here, so I don't want to get it wrong because it's so significant. Kyron Williams, $33 million extension, $23 million guaranteed. Pretty good deal.
Man, and the thing that I knew him when talking with him and his mom, who they were concerned because certain colleges, one of them might be like the state that I'm in at the moment, that wouldn't even talk to him.
So, JP, funny story about him. Two funny stories. I was showing some kids at our read training class the other day. We were talking about timing of throwing guys out of routes.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just pulled up on my phone. I found some footage of Blaine Gabbert. We were throwing at a field, a number of years ago. And there's two young kids on the field that I brought out as receivers. We had like 4 NFL receivers. And then I brought 2 extra guys because we wanted like 6 guys to run routes.
Yeah.
There's a few defensive back, like a linebacker and a defensive back that were there at the time. And it's Tony Adams was running the route, and then Kyron Williams is sitting there flipping the ball to Blaine Gabbert, And those guys were both in high school, young guys, not especially big guys, but you could tell back then that there was something special about both of them, and they were down for it whenever. Like if you wanted someone to come show up to train, there's no excuses. They were on time. They did what they were asked. So stuff like that is really cool. But the funny story about Kyron, and this is like a trend breaker because he was a freshman playing up on our varsity, boom team, our 18U team. And so we moved him up. I mean, I moved him up and he was not very big, but he played immediately with our 18U guys.
Mm-hmm.
And we made it to the Nationals at IMG, and he could not go because his grandparents had bought him a camp for Notre Dame. Okay. And he wanted to go so bad. But he wanted to play with us. He wanted to go to that. And I had told them, I was like, look, typically those camps don't mean a whole lot, like going to Notre Dame, like the 1 week long camp, like they just don't mean a lot. Right. But he was an 8th grader, going into 9th grade, and he wanted to do it. Right. So he ended up going. Nothing came of it, obviously, at that point. But, 3 years later, he's signing with Notre Dame. But you look back, he was wanting to go there and kind of like to stayed on that course with those guys and wanted to be a member of that team. And, some other schools locally just completely missed out on him. Completely missed out.
I'm talking about coming in like last minute.
Mm-hmm.
Last minute trying to come in and
all he wanted was them just to give him acknowledge he existed.
Right.
Unbeknownst
to everybody, probably could have had him as a sophomore in high school, freshman, sophomore in high school, if they would have shown the interest, similar to what the Notre Dame deal. So speaking of college football, you paying much attention to what's going on with Mizzou so far? Or that they're
I try to watch whatever they put out just to kind of see. I'm a little. I think it's crazy that schedule, those 6 home games in a row.
That's home cooking, man. Can't beat it. I mean, people. I've been in arguments with people, and they're telling me, "Oh man, they got a tough schedule." I'll take it.
I think it's okay.
I think
all things considered.
All things considered,
they could have an absolute nightmare on their hands.
Correct. They don't have to play number 1 preseason ranked Texas, I believe it is. No Georgia this year, right? No Florida, no LSU. That's pretty sweet. I don't even know. I don't think A&M either, right?
I think they may have A&M.
They have A&M? Yeah.
I think they might. But here's the thing. I don't think A&M's what they were last year.
No, exactly. And then
you get them at home. I think they get them at home. Yeah.
And then they get to beat up on Kansas at home. Yeah. That's for my Jayhawk fans out there.
I will give something nice about KU. Yeah. I was looking at their new stadium. Looks solid. It's
very solid.
They did a
And,
good job.
they're not the KU of past, you know. They're
No.
not the Mark Mangino KU either, but they're not, you know, they're respectable team.
Heck
So
yeah.
I mean,
Heck
so if Mizzou takes them light, you know, anything can happen.
You better believe it.
And then Alabama, I think they have at home, correct?
Yep.
And is that now that's sold out, right?
Already, and I saw that they sold their season tickets out already. So
Nice, very
pretty
nice.
good, man. I mean that, and if you're the guys in the in the front office, you're feeling pretty good about that because that you're spending what $250 million and building out a new part of your stadium.
Oh yeah, and I mean, which is beautiful. I mean, we can see. We were just up there. You and I could see how good it's gonna be.
Oh,
You know, I mean, it's
unreal.
nothing like back in the day. It was so rudimentary, everything. You know.
Oh my God, we would walk for practice and damn near get hit by cars crossing over. Was that Providence?
You guys were before.
There was no
bridge.
Bridge over the top. There was no welfare. We're worried about. Put your helmet on, boys, and make sure you don't get hit by a car.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll protect you a little bit.
Yeah.
So quarterback competition looks like that's going to go down to the wire. I think they're both going to play this season. I think Sam Horn and Bo is going to play. Everything looks like it's pretty much as it's going to be. They're just working on stuff. The biggest question is quarterback, a little bit of offensive line stuff. I know Tolleson is injured. Wilson was injured, you know, a little bit. They had to move the right guard over and play him a little at center past week a little bit. Left tackle's up in the air, but really I mean, you know, that running back that got Hardy, you just hear, you know, phenomenal stuff about him, and everybody's excited about him. The transfer, a lot of transfers on this team though. So
that's the way of the world, man. I mean, you get transfers every single level. And I think that is going to be the mark of how you survive in college football is the transfer, but more importantly, who and how you integrate those guys into your team and how those teams come together on those, 1-2 year cycles where you're turning your team over, that it's going to really become an art form for a lot of these coaches, I think.
It really is. And this time next week, we're going to know a little bit more about a day of practice under the belts for high school guys, a little bit more Mizzou stuff, some other college stuff happening. What's going on this week? Anything you want to put out there?
Well, we got training going on. We got all of our dead week stuff going. You got speed and agility classes each night. Tomorrow night, Wednesday night, will be our last night of skills training. We'll have youth classes and middle school classes, 6:40 to 8, and then 8 to 9:20 for the high schoolers. And then we'll be training on Sunday. And I always tell guys, like, look, it's football season. Backing off and doing less is probably a bad idea.
Yep.
Right? You're not overworking yet. You're honing your skills.
Yep. There's our social media, JP Rock MOX, JP Rock Scout you on Instagram. People can reach you at
Elite Football on X, Elite Football Academy on Instagram.
And football360show.com, offered.com, correct? Didn't get a chance.
Get offered. Yep. Get offered.
Offered.com. Didn't get a chance to do that. Enjoy myself. Enjoy the beach. Enjoy Alabama.
Sun just came out.
Oh, there you go. You gotta run out there, man. Get in the Gulf. That'll do it for us. We will talk to you next week. See ya.